What if I could give you a little advice to help your career and help your family? And it'll really piss off your boss. Ha! Welcome to Security Today. We're back at it again for another episode of the Security Today podcast, brought to you in part by DoorJam. That's right, DoorJamm is a convenient tool to prevent doors and gates from closing behind first responders and professionals in the trades. It's critical for us as security professionals to keep a high standard of professionalism as we work in sensitive areas for our customers and clients. And this means that we don't prop a door with a bucket of pull string or a push broom, because that looks janky, like you're running out of a 1500 Chevy from 1996. No. Instead, you can use the device created by DoorJam to show that there is a technician at work and all is well. You can use the discount code of ST Podcast on their website, DoorJam, that's 2Ms.com, and receive 10% off your purchase. Brand your DoorJam with your company's logo and make it a mandatory carry for all of your technicians. And if you ever see me in person, I'll get you the most coveted thing in this industry, which is a Security Today podcast branded DoorJam. I'm Uncle Baer, that's right, Uncle BAER_, and this is the security industry's technician first podcast, bucking all the norms, giving unpaid opinions, and set on providing you the education and brief news highlights that you need to continue to grow and hashtag be the better tech. I, Uncle Baer, aim to be your uncle in security, so give me a like, give me a follow, and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. That's right, baby. We back at it like a bad habit. Hold on. Wet the old whistle. So, we're going to get into a lot of things today, but before we do, I just want to talk about BeTheBetterTech.com. It's back up and running. You can go there now and start training in the Professional Access Control Wiring course. I am almost ready to upload these ebooks that focus on niche things in our industry, from video storage to troubleshooting systems to networks and protocols. And I think those are really going to help. So please pay attention to that. It should be coming up here in the next week or so, but we're doing good, baby. We're back in it. You know, we're finding that rhythm and that routine again, and everything's going well. I mean, there's really not much to report. The only thing that I can say is it has been a tad quiet on the socials. I just want comments. I just want to know that you're out there and you're like, I'm listening. Okay, goodbye. All right. So, but you could comment with something like substantial, like, hey, I heard your podcast and Edge Access Control is something that we're installing now, so I actually think you're onto something. Or, you know what? You're completely wrong. That's never going to happen. I want either way. I just want you to start engaging in the content, okay? And give it a like, give it a follow, give it a shout out, give it a comment, give it everything that you can give it, and we'll just get back into it. So, without further ado, no more talking points. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about. Electronic Security Exchange, Irving, Texas. You're going to want to go, and I'm going to tell you about it. The lock needs to not only work, but it also needs to look good. Like, the gentleman over there has bought you another round. Good. Okay. I'm also going to kind of get real with you for a minute. I think it's time. You asked for a raise, and if they say no, then maybe it's time for a new job. The bosses are going to hate this one, but this is for you, Mr. Technician. This is for you, Mr. Engineer, Mr. Desk Jockey. I don't care what you do. You're going to want to know this stuff. But first, every single week on our original broadcast of news and highlights, we give a shout out to an Instagram handle that is absolutely killing it out there with amazing content. Remember, the purpose of this is so that you follow less of the slop accounts, all right? No more chai for you. And more of the accounts that have to do with making your life better, which are security integrator accounts. Those that are producing good content will fill your feed and help you in minute ways towards the 10,000 hours of becoming the master of your craft. And that's exactly why we do these shout outs. So you better be listening, first of all, and then you better be following, second of all. And you go follow them, you get more content around your career, around your job, around your trade, and you come out on top. All right. This week goes to at Glasgow Rewires. That's GLASGOWREWIRES. Guys, I know. You would think that I've moved into a tenement flat in Broomhill with pumping another Glasgow account, but yeah, we Yanks just need to be taking notes, all right? Glasgow Rewires is a Sparky that installs everything from lighting and fire alarms to security lights. And while we can all get down with nerding out over trade work, the real banger here is their content, okay? The advertising and edit work is phenomenal. I think it's important as security owners that are trying to grow their business that they invest in real content creators and videographers as they film in and around their business. Glasgow Rewires gets it, and their presence on the socials is belta, as in pure dud brilliant. So give them a like, give them a follow, take out your notepad, and start taking notes, you fucking Egypts. All right, that's it. Let's get into the chit-chat. A couple of weeks ago, while I was at ISC, I dropped a podcast about networking. Stop this podcast and go listen to that podcast right now. I'll wait. Okay. Why the hell are you jumping ahead anyway? You know better. You should have listened to that first. All right, but as the rest of the class is exhibiting good behavior, I'm sure you heard it, and, well, I urged you to make sure that you are doing things to build your network and your education. Good news. ESX 2026 is coming June 1st through the 4th in Irving, at the Irving Convention Center in Texas. Hey, I want to just tell you a side note right now, okay? I met Chris Wilson from an ESX, I believe. It was also in Texas. I think it was in Dallas that year. And that was like 4 or 5 years ago that I met him in person for the first time. And he was the one who was already on the Hanwha Access Control product management team that offered me my current role. So it was because I was not only good at what I did, and I was good at communication, and I was kind, but that I used networking to plant seeds that eventually came to fruition and got me into a space that I now have desperately wanted to be in. So look at that. That's like literal proof, and we're talking about ESX. Well, let me tell you about ESX. This is an excellent show to attend and make sure that you're furthering your education, not just your networking. Built by ESX's Education Advisory Council, these sessions focus on real-world strategies to grow RMR, streamline operations, increase long-term business value across sales and marketing, operations, management, monitoring, as well as a special executive leadership track that they've put into place. So this is for the technician. This is for the integrator and business owner, the owner-operator, the leadership team at the SI. So you need to take advantage, especially of shows like that. ISC, it's all stars and bars, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's full action wows. Wow, 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 wow. But shows like ESX are the ones you go to where you're like, I'm really going to take it to the next level this year, and I need a little bit of education to do that. ESX is where you're going to find it. Some of these types of education that you're going to find in these categories, for instance, are classes like, these are actual classes you can take this year: Sealing the Deal on Service, how to sell service and maintenance agreements; Coaching technicians to sell, turning customer interactions into sales wins. I could write a whole freaking podcast on each one of these. It is important that you understand that the technician is a salesman, is a salesperson, okay? You should have known that. I don't even know. I'm reeling right now. Also, why margins slip and how to stop the attrition spiral, the new workplace, aligning remote office and field teams, and stacking value, building good, better, best subscription packages that boost RMR and retention. These are just 5 of, like, I don't even know, 30 education courses that you can take while attending ESX, and they have a show floor. It's Going to be amazing. ESX's well-planned peer-to-peer curriculum reflects ESA's commitment to building a strong community that empowers security professionals with indispensable knowledge, practical strategies, and valuable connections. If you are an integrator, this is a show that you should be attending every year. These are the things you need to be focusing on, and you need to be sending your teams to events like these. Listen to me. When I say teams, I don't just mean your leadership team. I mean your sales force, your operations managers, your technicians. Send your bloody technicians. Please send your technicians, at least the lead ones. Thank you. Okay, let's get into the product highlight. Wireless locks have become a dime a dozen. There are some really good companies turning them out, and for the most part, they all behave in one of a few ways. They either are hub-based, where there's some sort of RS-485 hub that acts as an access point, and the wireless locks communicate via RF or Zigbee or something to that hub. There's also Wi-Fi locks that just jump onto the wireless network that's already in place, and then there's like offline locks that use a data on card to get updated from the actual credential. Of course, that's nuanced. There's a bunch of different ways that those work, but that's the three primary ways. With these being the few major ways that wireless locks work, what I look for when looking to highlight a wireless lock is either a feature that sets it apart from the rest of your lock set out there, or the way that it looks. It's important to believe in aesthetics. We, as an industry, think function over form naturally, but we as security professionals need to remember that the form piece of the equation is a huge factor to the end user. They're the ones that have to look at our devices. They're the ones that have to look at our devices every day. They're the ones who design and decorate a space. It matters what's on the door to them, okay? Sometimes we don't have a choice, like with the god-awful maglocks, fucking maglocks, geez, strikes over mags till the day I die. Not just because maglocks are inherently not a security product, but a safety product, and because strikes come in a myriad of looks and feels, and you have some options of how you want the aesthetic to feel. But other than that, get rid of maglocks. Back to wireless locks. Sorry. The Schlage XE360 series. The XE360 series is the next generation wireless lock from Schlage and was designed specifically for multifamily properties. XE360 currently works within no tour or offline access control systems and supports the latest credential technologies. The open architecture design of the XE360 allows it to be managed by Allegion software or be integrated into popular physical access control and PropTech systems through their PAX Alliance program. This enables customers to choose what best fits their requirements now and transition to another solution at any time. The XE360 is also available in tubular and exit trim and suites with other Schlage families. Their UL294, multi-tech on creds, even mobile NFC, fire and severe weather rated, as well as, damn, they look good, okay? They've got 4 popular lever styles and 3 finishes: satin nickel, satin chrome, matte black. The matte black resembles something you might find in Batman's apartment, and that just tickles my fancy, okay? Black on black to the day I die. Black chucks, black sky. Whoop. The matte black resembles something that you would want to see in a very clean space. And with the longitude extended lever and the green-red LED that encases the inner deadbolt and just ever so slightly brushes the top curve of the outside of the lock, I mean, you're looking at something that you want to be looking at. Now, listen, I'm easy, okay? I'm an easy nerd out on hardware kind of guy if you're ever looking to take me home. It's a simple yes. Let me just use the restroom before we leave if you shoot your shot with the XE360. Okay, let's get into the meat. That's right. This week, I want to talk about something that's kind of close to my personal story, okay? So over my 14 years in the physical security industry, I've worked for about 8 different integrators. That includes owning my own business, contracting, and now, where I'm at now, I've worked for one manufacturer. Sometimes you run into an old head or two, and I've even been pressed in interviews that it's not a good thing that I've spent about 2 to 2.5 years at every integrator before I've left, sometimes far less. My answer to that interviewer was that I was given a better opportunity for myself and my family, and I'm not going to pass on that, as my family is my first priority every time. Doesn't matter. That kind of shut them up, and honestly, I got the job. I often tell integrators when I'm face-to-face that they need to be growing and pursuing their craft. That also means that they need to either be moving up in pay and responsibility or moving on to somewhere where they're more valued, okay? My only pay raises received as an integrator all of those years was when I switched integrators. Another fucking ridiculous thing that is in our industry, but that's literally for another podcast, another audience, because I do need to talk to those people. Now, I don't share this often, okay? But just a little history, being a little vulnerable, a little open. I went from $19K annually when I started as a green tech to over 6 figures as an engineer while working with integrators. It's doable for you as well. It's all in the combination of continued learning, being humble enough to ask questions, and interviewing well. So today I want to touch on that interviewing well piece. In the security industry, technical depth is currency. Certifications matter. They do. Field experience matters. Knowing how to architect complex access control or multi-site VMS deployment absolutely matters. It is the first piece of the puzzle, the foundation that will either help you hold better and better jobs or allow yourself to show your employer that you aren't worth the money. That's just the way that it goes. So keep learning. Here's where I would normally plug BeTheBetterTech.com, but you get the idea. Unfortunately, when it comes to being hired, here's the hard truth. Being the most technical person in the room does not automatically make you the strongest candidate that they're looking for. And a lot of people in our industry that work on the technician side, they can't connect those two dots. So they either stay where they are and they plateau and they live there till they're 100, or they maybe leave the industry. And so you need to be able to connect those dots, that just because you're the most technical person in the room when you're interviewing doesn't mean that you're automatically going to get the job. Now, I know I make you eat a lot of salt on this podcast, but it's because I want you to get better. I want you to be valued for what you are, excellence in tech form. Too often, highly skilled engineers, network gurus, and product specialists lose opportunities, not because they lacked experience, but because they lost the audience of the interview room. I'm going to pass some information on to you right meow that I've learned so that you can prevent yourself in a way that gets you ahead. If your employer isn't giving you raises annually and or isn't paying you, sometimes half of what they should be, here is how you nail the next interview to at least see what the options are, okay? Because it doesn't hurt to be taking an interview or 3 every year just to stay sharp and see the opportunities. I used to take an interview a year for jobs that I was pretty sure they weren't going to pay me more, just to make sure that I could still nail them and get the offer. It's also smart to practice letting people down in a professional way, because you kind of got to be like, hey, I really appreciate this, thank you. It's just not the right time. I've got another opportunity, which sometimes may just be the opportunity that you already had. But it's good because you're sharpening your staff, right? It's also smart to continue to grow yourself from a communication perspective, because that is a skill that you have to practice, that you have to sharpen, and you do it almost every day out in the field when you're trying to tell another technician, or you're trying to tell your boss, or you're trying to tell the project manager exactly what's going on. And you also do it when you're in front of the client, trying to tell them what's going on from a perspective of somebody who doesn't know exactly what you're doing. So it will help you later. Trust me. Sharpen your skills. First, you need to read the room when you're in these interview situations, okay? So be polite. Never take an interview where you don't also ask questions. Did you hear that? Is this thing on? Never take an interview where you also don't ask them questions, okay? You're interviewing each other. Not every interviewer, though, is an engineer. Sometimes it's a VP of sales or an HR leader or a CEO who cares more about the bottom line than technical jargon. So before diving deep into IT language, technical specs, engineering language or jargon, pause and ask them, how technical would you like me to get? That single question signals, first off, emotional intelligence. It shows you understand the communication is collaborative, not performative. and it keeps you aligned with the audience instead of accidentally talking past them. Smart candidates answer questions and ask questions. Let me get this right. Hold on. Smart candidates answer questions. Elite candidates answer them at the right altitude. That's what I meant to say. So it matters who you're talking to and how you're answering those questions. Second, you need to be taking notes during your career. As you move quarter to quarter, make a note on your phone even, where you report the data that you've actually done over the quarter. Like, we installed this many cameras on this project, serviced this many panels or devices this month. Because when you have those notes, this will allow you to start to build actual numbers that when you get into an interview, you can lead with an outcome, not a component. A lot of the time, it's easy to spend many minutes talking to an interviewer where you explain the panels that you've used, how you configure a VLAN, and the benefits of one VMS to another, yada, yada, yada. This is all good and grand, and you're going to need to be able to list the different brands that you've worked with and how technical you've worked with them, but you can't let that eat up the majority of your talk time. You only get so many minutes per interview to represent yourself. If you've been taking notes, then you can come with outcomes to support your technical expertise, which oftentimes will be more relevant to the person you're actually talking to. For instance, you can say, well, the team and I worked on reducing false alarms by 30% over these quarters with my last integrator. Or I helped increase uptime across 42 sites by servicing these panels and these VMS systems. Or when we moved to this component, it actually cut install time by about 20%. This will always impress, and it's important to remember that executives will want to hire impact, not just technical knowledge. Third, never use jargon as a flex. Look, man, I know it's hard being a little guy. You just want to get up there and just flex your muscles, but you can't do it, dude. That's a jackass. We don't want no jackasses, okay? No. The best technical leaders can explain complex integration the same way they'd explain it to a customer or a junior tech. If you can't simplify it, it may signal that you don't fully understand it, or that you might lack audience awareness. Two things that might be a huge turnoff in an interview. So stop flexing and start telling your story at the right altitude, to the right people, with actual outcomes, not just components, and be able to voice that and never use that jargon as a flex. Like, well, I know about the flux capacitor 3000. There might be someone in the room that asks a question for you to reveal and communicate about something technically deep. But you can't walk in there and be like, AI, da-ba-da-ba-da. That won't work, man. I'm telling you, it won't work. Fourth, match the energy and the pace of the room. This is hard to do, but it is something you can do. Sometimes technicians vying for a job can go into what I've heard is kind of like the whiteboard mode, where they just like start standing in front of a whiteboard trying to get a lecture out in a few minutes. They talk fast, they talk deep, they talk nonstop. They can't get into a comfort zone, and they're so excited about this interview, which is a natural reaction, but it causes them to just kind of drone on. Watch for signals from your interviewer, like, are they nodding? Are they asking follow-up questions? Are their eyes glazing over? If you feel like you're losing them, then pivot and say, like, I can go deeper there if helpful, or I can explain how that impacted the business. Which would you like? And then let them kind of guide the interview. The adjustment can save it for you, man. I'm telling you. And then finally, remember that communication is a massive part of a technician's job. The ability to tailor your message, it's not a soft skill. It's core competency, okay? This isn't just something that like, oh yeah, he's pretty good at this. No, if you can communicate well, then they know that you have a core competency, a foundation, that you will be a good addition to their team. If you can't collaborate your message in an interview, a hiring manager will reasonably wonder if you can collaborate it with a client, and a client who will be paying the heavy salary that you're asking for. So it's important to make sure that you're building your communication skills. If you can shape and mold yourself along kind of these 5 axes, then you will really start to shine as one of the elite in your field. Remember to be humble. That's another thing that's really hard to digest, but learn. Be humble. Communication's the core competency, and you need to be practicing reading the room. If you do these things, maybe your wife will like you more as well. So it's a win-win. All in all, I need you to be better. And that's why I bring this sort of information to you. But that's enough for the whipping post today, okay? Now go out there and kill it, and I love you. Okay. That's it for Security Today. Remember, this podcast is hosted, edited, ran, created, and built by me and me alone, your uncle in security, Uncle Baer. DM me at Uncle BAER_ or at Security Today Podcast on your Instagram with your thoughts, your stories, your resources. You can find me on LinkedIn. Make sure that you are following our shout out at Glasgow Rewires on Instagram, because I watch their reels like 3 or 4 times back to back. It's amazing. Also, use promo code STPodcast at doorjam.com. That's 2 M's to secure a discount on your next batch of door jams for your technicians or for yourself. If you have ever tried any of these products that I mentioned, please reach out. Let me know. I want to know how they go. Like, I might be repping something that looks really cool, like Batman's apartment multifamily lock, but you may be like, dude, I tried to install that last week, and tech support sucked. They didn't send the right parts in the box. It broke as soon as I put it on, and I couldn't get it to connect to my phone. That would be information that I would want to know, okay? So please, this podcast is driven by interactions with fantastic technicians and security professionals like yourself on Instagram and LinkedIn, and you know that I'm hooking you up with the resources, so go follow at Be The Better Tech on Instagram and start learning at BeTheBetterTech.com, the Security Today podcast's educational arm, where I try to bring you the education that you need to further your career and secure the world. We'll see you next week on Security Today. Deuces.